my work is in neurobiology, and people have so much confusion about what it all means. We barely know 1% of neurobiology. We're just not even there. We don't even understand simplest operations, actually. And yet we're now saying computers are conscious and stuff. Well, it's probably not a computer that's equal to the complexity of a single neuron. And yet we don't appreciate the body, which is the source of our knowledge. The way we know, it's vastly more than, and they're talking about artificial general intelligence that just don't understand where human intelligence even comes from. And so it's a crazy moment. Arrogance is the thing we have to be careful of, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's human intelligence forgetting divine intelligence and the intelligence of our species. It's a moment to, I think it was brought up, but wisdom is remembering, and to remember who we are, where we come from, and to also remember with a hyphen, to become one, right?
Well, that's good, yeah.
Now, setting science as against spirituality, that itself is the basic flaw. That is wrong. Science is only an instrument to understand and experience spirituality. Science is not against spirituality. See, this whole understanding of science and inquiry into nature's secret and technology, all these things they are presented as if they are against spirituality.
People forget Isaac Newton wrote more books on theology than on what we call science. It's the same. Yeah.
So science is not an enemy of spirituality.
Just people don't understand. Science has a different methodology than the sources of wisdom. It's limited to empirical study. It's like a little island in the great sea of knowledge. It's just you can only know certain things through the scientific method. It's not going to give us all the answers we need. We need to be deeply rooted in a larger experience of the world.
That's why in the Jain philosophy of India, there is anekantavada. Anekanta. You can approach the truth from many ways. It is not that only one way of approaching the truth. So there can be, see, you want to approach here, you can this way or this way. You say this is science and this is belief. No, the truth is one. To approach that, there are many ways. So which way is the right way, you can't say. So human being, that's anekantavada. See, there are many ways to take, even. But science is one thing which is equal. It has to be proved anywhere in any part of the planet, right? That is what. That's why we feel that is rational, that is scientific, that's truth. But there are certain things which are the spiritual experiences the science cannot answer today.
Yeah, think of it like science discovers little t truths, and those accumulate, and they become bigger t's, but the capital T truth is what it's all orienting towards, right? And I think there's this beautiful quote from a Sufi mystic, Bastami. So it goes, "Truth melts like snow in the hands of one who melts like snow in the hands of truth," or who does not melt like snow in the hands of truth. So the idea is truth isn't even what we're seeking. Like we want to seek and seek truth, but we seek the beyond the truth. We seek the experience of the divine. We seek the oneness that you're speaking of. And I think there's this kind of journey we're all on to figure out how do these various areas of knowledge give us access, like you're saying, to the divine. And so those are different doorways into it. And I have to think, like I mentioned, Gregor Mendel, it's like the only way that he understood like those little pea pods and heredity was like, I think, like a loving attention he's like his gaze is like careful gaze on what is, and a thoughtful gaze on what is, and a heartful gaze of what is. And then he thought about not only what is, but what could be. Like, what are the principles? What should we know? But it wasn't for the sake of domination. It was, for the sake of contemplation, and yet it's useful. So I think, it's like that kind of hierarchy of like the pinnacle of use is love and not just use. It's like what do we use our powers for? We could feed the poor and serve those in need. But we don't at various times. I don't enough. So I think there's this hunger for in my tradition holiness, or my tradition, what's the good life for worship, contemplation, and building stuff. Like, we can do it all, I think. Yeah.
In medicine, we make various discoveries, and then we think we're going to finally get the real understanding, and we have these moments where we think this is the answer to it all, and this happened over and over with discovery of just there's one after another. Electricity, most recently genetics. We thought we were going to get the key to everything, and then we have to draw back and realize that there's so much we still don't know. It's a long journey, and we're not very far along it, actually.
Yeah.
Even scientifically. Mendel was very lucky, by the way. He hit on he just happened to stumble on something where genes have very direct effect on traits.
Yeah.
And it was great. So he illuminated the relationship between genetics and phenotypic traits, but most things don't work that way. They're vastly more complicated. So, but on the other hand, we need to go forward, because there are an estimated 6,000 to 8,000 single gene diseases in human race, and they're horrible. And for 95% of them, we have neither a cure nor even a treatment for 95% of genetic disease. So we need to forge forward, but at the same time, we gain power over a lot of normal things in life, non-pathological things, and therefore we need to contain our knowledge with a good sense of loving purpose, not arrogance.
Yeah, or greed. Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know if you know the folk structure of scientific revolutions, but he makes a fun point that in some ways, quantum, the paradigm of quantum physics has more in common with Aristotelian physics than either does with Newtonian physics. And his point is that, to your point, that there's a conceit that when we have a new breakthrough in science, we feel we figured it all out. But actually, in one sense, the scientific body of knowledge fluctuates much, much more than any wisdom tradition, which has, in some sense, more stable, but harder to access.
Melts like snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
People in biology and medicine have this simplistic notion of what matter is, and think of it still like little billiard balls bouncing off each other. It's nothing like that. My brother has a PhD in low temperature physics, and I talk with him about what is the nature of matter. And some very profound people like John Wheeler and Max Planck, for example, thought that consciousness and spirit were more fundamental than what we think of as matter in our daily lives.
Yeah.
And the relationship between
barrenness. You mentioned barrenness. Nature. What is the reason of? I didn't get it. Barren.
Matter,
like
Matter.
Material being. Yeah.
But consciousness is.
Yeah. We don't know the relationship between ideas and physical expressions of things. And I mean, obviously, God is not a creation. That's silly. So God is antecedent to the created world. And therefore, we have to be very careful what we think is the most fundamental reality. It's not material in the sense that we know matter. But anyway, even if it were, the physicists tell us it's vastly more complicated than we realize in our sort of phobic thinking.
The debate between matter and mind has been an old debate.
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Whether matter influences the mind or the mind influences the matter.
So we're material beings, but we have no idea how we go from chemicals to consciousness. That's just simply, I teach in neurobiology, and we ask everybody, how do you go from being a material chemical being to being a conscious being, understands things about the world, can penetrate the world, alter the world, and, essentially that remains a mystery.
But a lot of these quantum guys who started to get interested in consciousness being more fundamental to reality than matter, a lot of them turned to Hindu scriptures, actually.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, there's like a love of Sanskrit literature among the quantum physicists.
Because this particular thing of what is matter, this has been discussed at length in Upanishads in Sanskrit. So first thing is, the whole creation is it starts with Maya. This is all there, it is not there. It is Maya. And matter is also part of Maya. But we all engage with that. So because it is the creation of mind. So ultimately, mind is superior than matter. Matter is not influencing the mind. Mind can go beyond matter. And that is samadhi.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a tradition in the Eastern Christian tradition of saying our thoughts determine our lives. This is Elder Thaddeus from the Orthodox Church. So it's this, our thoughts determine our lives, not the matter. So I think it's
God's not matter.
Yeah. Well.
And you studied Sanskrit in university or before?
Before.
Yeah, this, T.S. Eliot was a Sanskrit major.
Yeah.
It was really in vogue in the early, he, at Harvard, before he got into the Western tradition, he was deep on the Sanskrit tradition. It's an interesting, Sanskrit used to be really popular, especially among physicists. Oppenheimer too, of course, and Bohr. It's.
There is a wonderful discussion between Einstein and Rabindranath Tagore on science and humanity.
Did they
dialogue between Tagore,
Yeah.
who was a Nobel laureate in literature, Rabindranath Tagore, and Einstein. And they have discussed about science and future of humanity. That is there. Then Toynbee and Ikeda, their dialogue is also there in these things. Future of civilization and technology advances, the civilization, the traditional knowledge and the technological advancement, whether they collide, whether they cooperate. So, whose hands it is in today, science and technology, if it is in the hands of companies, where commercial benefit is the only aim, then there's a greater threat. So this they have discussed.
Did they meet Einstein and Tagore? Did they meet in person or they wrote letters?
They met.
Yeah, I mentioned George Lemaitre. This a priest in Einstein. Einstein was with everybody. And this.
Vivekananda and Nicholas Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That discussion is there about force and matter.
Huh.
That is the Akasha, the ether, is matter. The prana is force. Prana is there, me. See, what is death? What is really the death? Why my man today is there? And the body is there, but is unable to act. So death occurs. So what is the death? That prana has gone out. That life force has gone out. There is some life force. And life force is called as prana. And that prana is to be regulated, it's called pranayama. Oh, pranayama. And prana is to be regulated, that life force. So because that the life can be energized. And the prana and akasha, that is the ether, that is, one is force and another is matter. So this is what Vivekananda and Nicholas Tesla, they discussed on this.
I started my comments quoting Psalm 36. He is the light in which we see the light, in which we see all things. When my little boy was 3 years old, I was reading some scriptures to him. At one point he looked up and he said, God created light first so he could see what he was doing.
That's funny.
Well, it's a great, exciting journey, all these different cultures converging on a globally standard material culture, and sooner or later we're going to have to a globally standard ethical, spiritual culture.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'll blow each other up.
Exactly.
That's why we instead of liberating the minds, at least to understand that there can be different experiences, but we are all in the journey of understanding the ultimate truth. I may be here, you may be there, but this understanding of the ultimate reality, whether our science and technology helps promote this or it takes us away for the material benefit only.
Yeah.
That's why the real scientist should become real sage also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the new ideal. Yeah.
Ultimately, a scientist is a sage, and a sage is a scientist. When one reaches that level, then he will be seeing all as well, and the understanding of the creation and creator, creation also, human being and the rest. This understanding there when at the supreme level of scientific inquiry makes the sage who sees no differences in all these things. So this is the my decision necessary. If you have experience and teach them, it will
Get to become a
experience.
yeah.
It's similar to what you said, that whoever sees more.
Yes, who sees.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you have to see all of it.
See.
The trouble is, though, that it's true. I mean, I was very good friends with Arthur Kornberger, who got the Nobel Prize for discovering DNA polymerase. And he used to say, knowledge beats ignorance every time. But only if it has the right spirit surrounding it, because truth is mysterious. It's you might use the analogy of making a pillow. So when a person makes a pillow, they take, say, two squares, they lay the squares of cloth on top of each other, and they sew the edges, and it leaves a little fringe out, okay? And the last thing you do, you leave one corner unsewed, and the last thing you do is you turn it inside out and stuff it, okay, so that the seams are on the inside. Well, that's a little bit like knowledge itself. One little last piece can change the whole trajectory of the meaning of knowledge. You don't really understand anything completely until you understand everything. And we're a long way from understanding everything. So we need to have a kind of comprehensive, containing humility in what we do with our knowledge.
Yeah, that spirit of collaboration where we may not have the knowledge, or that's where different cultures, different communities can come together.
Yeah, and be open to the criticism from each other.
Yeah.
A corrective. The great thing about humanity, I tried to say that with reference to the Gettysburg Address, is collective humanity, some mysteriously, has a greater wisdom than any single person or single government or company or anything else. I could see it in my classroom. Even just, 15 or 18 students collectively can see things that no one of the individuals can see.
Yeah.